there very many field changes, Quincy? Okay. I want to talk with you about a once-in-a-lifetime project that I'm fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work on and been involved with since pretty much the beginning. Working with us, we have a real good team. Wahida Raquel over here works in my section and is kind of heading up the engineering part. Darren Willer with HNTV is heading up the schematics with Joel Salinas. They've been working, just come up with remarkable ideas on how to handle some of the issues and problems working in the middle of a big city. Patty Matthews of AECom, I don't know if she's here, I haven't seen her, is working on the EIS, which is about as complicated as you can get. This project, let me give you a little history. We started about 12 years ago with an MIS. The area right in here is what we call a hot spot. It's where the Heights is, and anytime you're doing anything inside Loop 610, which is this here, is controversial, even bridge replacements. So we knew this was going to be a very special and a difficult project. And what we usually hear from people inside the loop is, why should they have to breathe the fumes and filth of people who choose to live in the woodlands? So we knew that was coming. We also get a lot of comments, why are you building more highways? Why aren't you building rail? I didn't press it. So we knew that was coming also. So what we did, we did a joint MIS with Metro, with them as the lead agency, and had them go first where they did their rail studies. And they looked at light rail, and this thing keeps moving, and they looked at, wound up with a light rail that ran through downtown just to the east of 45, just outside of Loop 610. Then we followed that up with our MIS study where we looked at 45 and what could be done with it, and concluded we needed some managed lanes, and we also added a frontage road lane. We divided this section up into 3 sections. The green is segment 1, which is kind of a traditional widened section. The purple is segment 2, which is mostly depressed, but it's the area in the controversial area. And then the gold is the ring around downtown Houston, comprised of the segments of 69, 10, and 45, the Pierce Elevated, which is a real choke point right there. Something wrong with this. After we did, we're in the process of the MIS study, one of our, Mr. Weston, who lives a few blocks from the freeway, noticed when he came home one day a white cross or X in the street in front of his house, which is an aerial survey marker. He was asking around and found out about what it was. He had heard about our public meeting involvement on the MIS study, put 2 and 2 together that we were going to widen the freeway and go through his backyard. So he became very concerned, and while this was also going on, we had the Katy Freeway mega project construction going on, which was a huge project, a whole lot wider and bigger than this one, and a large amount of right-of-way and homes being taken. I'm going to go ahead and put it on that one. He set up a town hall meeting for us to come and discuss it. Little did we know that when he was seeing the typical section, he was seeing this one on the internet. He was counting shoulders as lanes and frontage roads as lanes, and advertised to the community around there that we were going to build a 26-lane freeway through the Heights. So we showed up at the meeting. I don't remember how big the room was, but it seemed bigger than this. It was probably a lot smaller, but there was a congresswoman, a senator, 2 state representatives, the county commissioner, all in the front row. And nobody there was happy with us, but we listened to their concerns, tried to alleviate to them that because they have a cemetery on one side where they are and a historic neighborhood on the other side, that there's no way we were going to build a 26-lane freeway through there, and we probably were not going to buy any right-of-way, which was one of their criteria for letting us go forward with the project, because they went to HGAC and made a number of speeches there, and we got the project approved by agreeing to their demands that no new right-of-way and no impacts to the quality of life for their neighborhood, which we've been trying to do, and we've been meeting with them quite a bit since then just to reassure them. The project, go back to this one, has all segments of the project are in the top 30 of the most congested freeways in Texas, and 3 are in the top 10. The purple one there was number 1 until Devin Dennis became district engineer, and it got better, and we hadn't figured out why, and it stayed better. So there's a definite demand. The HOV lanes went in this part of the freeway in the 1980s, and to fit it in, they had to use the shoulders. So it's sitting out there with no shoulders. We had them plot the fatality rates, and it was unbelievable. There were dots all over the freeway from fatalities. And we have a number of low clearance bridges, so about to give up on it. So what we decided in our MIS study, we're going to build max lanes, which are managed lanes plus toll lanes. Our public information lady that Quincy mentioned doesn't like us to use toll, so we're going to call them max, kind of positive sounding word. So we're going to build 2 max lanes each direction throughout the purple and the green, and add frontage roads, a third lane frontage road, along with full width shoulders and bike and pedestrian facilities. This is the visualization of what segment 1 would look like, where we're widening mostly to the west side, where we're going to need about 170 to 225 feet of right-of-way. It's mostly closed up the car dealerships that went out of business in the 2008 recession, but there is some development going on, so we're trying to get ahead of that. What you see here is another visualization. The pink are the max lanes. It's pink on my drawing, but purple on yours. The yellow are the free lanes, and the green are the frontage road lanes. Segment 2, this is a lot more interesting segment. We have light rail running right along here. We thought that was a good thing until we started meeting with the public and found out that it's not a good thing because it jams up traffic, people trying to go east and west, trying to get to our project. So when we moved ramps around, people who did not have to cross Fulton, that did have to cross Fulton, were very upset. So we've been trying to work on that. We're going to need 10 to 80 feet on the northern part, and within the area of the constrained right-of-way. This is what we're planning on doing, where we have a double deck. The frontage road's on top, some columns here, and working with HNTB, they told us about a project in Dallas where they put a green space on top. We thought, boy, this would be a great treat for the people there and really make them happy, and they want to jump on the project, which they have done. There's very little opposition to this project right now. But as in Dallas, the green space would have to be funded with local funds. This one here would be about 2,700 feet long, which is about twice the length of the one in Dallas. And this is a typical section, and because of the length, need ventilation, positive ventilation to keep the air breathable. Have the max lanes in the middle here with the free lanes on the side and the frontage road lanes on top to provide access to the local businesses. This is what the Commerce Street in Dallas looks like, where they use lightweight soil and a lot of landscaping. And this is Clyde Warren Park, which is the one that's about 1,200 feet long and cost $100 million for all the amenities that Dallas did. Half of that was funded by government agencies. TxDOT put in about $20 million, and the rest were by the big institutions and private funding. And this is the visual aerial view of the one in Dallas. So the controversies that we have had are ramp closures and travel pattern changes because of the ramp closures. So when you get into a project this controversial in town, that's pretty good. We are proposing a roundabout in the middle of this section. So, and I was concerned how that would go over with the public, but they liked it. So we're moving on with that. Now this is the real fun part. This is downtown Houston, where you have all the freeways. It's kind of a spoken radio thing feeding this circle of freeways downtown. And what we found here, we have looked at all kinds of alternatives. Pierce Elevated, we look at widening it. We look at double decking, and none of those were really feasible. We looked at tunnels. And we also, a couple of guys in the office came up with the idea that if you remove the traffic barrier in the middle here and the traffic barrier here, this is all elevated, you could use the shoulders for 2 extra lanes and you put everybody going the same direction. So we had a proposal that I was really keen on for the world's largest roundabout around downtown Houston. It got a front page headline article in the Chronicle. I was pushing HNTV Darren to make it work, make it work, make it work. And they modeled it, and what they found was everybody would use the outside lanes because that's where you've been getting on and off. A 10-lane roundabout, nobody's going to move over to the middle or the inside lanes, and they would not be used, so it would just create a big nightmare. So we finally dropped it. But what happened was, during our public meeting where we were showing this, we had some comments from some of the people who run the management agencies downtown that they're architects, so I guess they think a little differently. But why don't you take 45 and move it over here next to 69? And I thought, boy, that's a great idea. I wish I had thought of that. And so we looked at that, and we looked at it, and couldn't find anything wrong with it. So we ran with it. So what we're proposing downtown is have a spur coming off 45 and 10 to feed the downtown exit and entrance points. We told the city and the downtown management district we're going to maintain the entrance and exit points where they currently are unless you decide there's something better. So the city and the downtown management district have been meeting every couple of weeks trying to work something out on what they want, what they think would work better. And they have their own consultant looking at traffic patterns to see what needs to be changed, because we told them now if you want any changes, now's the time to do it. 10, you can either take the express lanes that go all the way through without any ramps, or you can take these other lanes and have access to the northern side. 69, you would continue through as you would do today, except this would be all depressed instead of elevated as it currently is. I'm going to show you some pictures that will be very difficult to figure out, but this is all on the internet, IH45north and more.com. If you just Google IH45 North, it'll come up. But what we have here is orange are the downtown spurs. This is coming off of 45 and 10 and feeds McKinney and Bagby and the other exit points on the west side of downtown. Yellow is 45 through lanes. If you don't want to go downtown, but on 45 you want to go south, you stay on these lanes and you go around downtown and come up on the Gulf Freeway. Pink are the max lanes, which feed into downtown. They're the HOV, that's what Metro will use for their buses, and the people who live in the Woodlands who ride the bus, and a lot of them do, ride the bus into downtown through there. Green are the I-10 local access lanes, and blue are the I-10 express lanes. If you want to go, you will have to make your decision before you get to downtown, whether you want to go through downtown or to downtown, because once you get into the lanes that take you to one or the other, that's the only place you're going. So at first, people learning how this works, there may be a couple of mistakes. This is the view from west of town. This is Buffalo Bayou, Allen Parkway, and this is the spur coming off of 45. And these are the places where people currently enter and exit downtown. Well, there is a proposal by one group of architects to make the existing Pierce Elevated a linear park, and they have a picture of people standing on the bridge looking out over the bayou right here, but we're still going to need that. But further around where the actual Pierce is, that will be abandoned, and we've told people that the local governments will have first option, and if they want to build a park, it will be there. They'll have to buy it from us. And if they don't want it, then it goes to the adjacent property owners and developers. This is looking at from the northeast, where the freeway ends there. That's not a mistake. That's where it's going to go underground. This is the baseball park in George R. Brown. We'll talk about that in a minute. And go to the internet and just ponder on that if you really want to understand it. This is where the freeway currently goes. It has a curve. We're going to take that out, and that'll probably become a detention pond. And there's another curve right through here we're going to take out and straighten out as well. And there's been several people already interested in acquiring that. The important part of this picture is what's not there, which is the Pierce Elevated going through here. These tall buildings, they're vacant, so you can kind of see it is a barrier. Even though you got free access under as far as traffic and pedestrians, it is a perceived visual and a real barrier, I guess, because all the developments on this side, there is some residential going on back over here, and it's really more so the case over here where you got the wealthy over here and not so wealthy businesses and all on this side. And this is what it looks like with where 45 express lanes come around. If you want to go downtown from the Gulf Freeway, you get off back here and take the local streets. And this is 59 in the blue, 69 in the blue going under, and the ramps to connect the two. This is further south where 288 comes together. And there are the lanes. These are the 288 managed lanes that are getting ready to be built by strategic projects where they come in and tie into the local street to feed into downtown. And you have 69 and 59 and 288 all come together right here. And this is the local streets where they also tie in. We're going to have a real good opportunity for some signature bridges right in here, and that's what we've been telling the community. We had another meeting with the organization down here, and they're really interested in that. And we kind of told them, y'all come up with some ideas. We're really interested in making this look pretty, because this is a spectacular view of downtown coming up from 288, and having some pretty bridges would really look nice. This is a little further south where 59 and the spur all come together, and there's the same pictures of that where 69 is the blue, and this is 288 coming in. This is a little issue. You know, you get into projects and you think you got it all figured out, but they built the Jar Jar Brown right up next to the elevated US 5969 right here. And for years now, 20, 25 years now, they have been using the area underneath the freeway for their loading and unloading. They just assumed that it would continue to be that way and nothing would change. So they consider this their back door. So they, of course, according to the agreement that we have with them, we can kick them out, but that would pretty much shut down their operation. So we know that's not really feasible. So we've been trying to find a way to make them work, make that work. Edo over here, this is the dividing line to the two management districts where you got the wealthy one over here and the not so wealthy. These guys want to be like these guys. Their offices, we've been to their offices. They're in the skyscraper, really posh offices. We've been to there, meet with their board. It was a garage with the garage door right there over the folding tables. So they have ambitions, and so they did not want this to stay elevated. They want it depressed. And this you can see here how close it is. This is a bridge that's part of the Jar Jar Brown that feeds the upper levels, but the lower levels, they load and unload from right underneath here. So what HNTB came up with, and we're trying to make it work, is put their loading dock area over here. They want a bigger area than what we can give them on this, but this is what we told them we can give them. They need to work with us and come up with something on their own. We had to route the local street around that and swing it back in around here. And then this is a St. Emmanuel over here, another local street. I think this is the architect's version. It's got all these curves in it. The engineer version we have is straight lines for trails going through there. So. And that's what it looks like underneath with the loading, Jar Jar B loading area, the potential green space, and the street here, and the different lanes here. So, and this is a visualization looking at the baseball field. This is the existing 5969 structure with the red column, and this is what it looked like with all that depressed over here. This is also a little over 3,000 foot green space, so it's the same deal as the other one where the locals would have to pay for the covering on top, but we would be building the columns and the beams to hold up the local streets there. This is probably the most important slide of the whole presentation. This number right here, this is the average speed increase of that downtown area. All the freeways in Houston feed downtown. We need something like that to make it work because it's a $6+ billion project. So there's a lot of cars, a lot of traffic. Everybody goes into downtown at some point, and that kind of speed increase is phenomenal. It's just something you don't normally see on a project like this. Anybody have any questions? I got my team here. Anybody has a hard question, they're ready. So. Yes, sir. That has been a real concern, and we're right next to bayous. When you look at the drawings, it looked like when they built 45, they said, we're going to build it right next to the bayou, because that's where it is. Oh, the question was, what about flooding? And 45 has flooded. So what I've told our team is, where we're next to a bayou, make sure we can build a wall at least tall enough to keep a 500-foot storm from overtopping and getting into the bayou, which is Katy Freeway back in the 90s when it flooded. White Oak Bayou overtopped. That's why it flooded and flooded so fast, the bayou overtopped. We've since fixed that. So I'm talking about doing the same thing here, and we got an ECOM doing a hydraulic study, and they're going to be building a lot of pumps to keep it pumped out. Without doing the depressed section, it's really a no-go on this type of project in the inner city. Sheila Jackson Lee's been a supporter, but she can only take so much heat from people, and we just got to provide relief to our elected officials. And by doing this, creating something for the inner city folks is the only way we can really get this type of project on the ground. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Well, we already have the 610 loop that can take traffic around. It's a lot further to go around that way. And I don't have the numbers with me. If you send me an email, I can look that up for you. I don't think these guys would have it either. Yeah. There's a microphone right next to you.
Well, the traffic study that was conducted, we looked at every freeway coming in from every direction. So we ran screen lines all the way around downtown and looked at a couple of the options we studied in the previous round of the alternatives, looked at that direct connector. So we looked at connectors at Beltway 8 over to Hardy, and looked at Hardy as a corridor as well. We looked at 610 taking traffic off 45 and moving it around over to 610. And this, what you see here is the alternative is what came out as the most effective traffic improvement for all the alternatives. That's why it's moving forward. But it was looked at. We have the numbers. If you really want to look at them, we've got a full traffic study that was done, North Hardy corridor study. It's also online at the same website that Pat mentioned, and you can scroll through all the mass diagrams on where all the traffic flows when it comes in. It's pretty interesting, but that's how we ended up where we are.
If you're really into this stuff, go to the website, because we got everything out there that we have done on the project. Hey, one more question. Anybody else? Okay, thank you.